in our course, and more specifically in chapter 8, the finance chapter, we will end up with formulas like this one, where given values for P, for R, for N, for T, and replacing in here, you might end up with these parentheses raised to the power to equal something like 1.00625 to the power of 12 times 43, for example. So the question is, how do you calculate this with the calculator? So we will go and we will try to do some exponents in with the calculator. So basically, before we do some complicated computations, let's do some easy ones. Let's say you have to calculate 2 to the third. Well, I hope you can do this mentally and say 2 to the third is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. 5 to the second, it's 5 times 5, which is 25. So as you can see, I am repeating the base as many times as the exponent tells me. So here I did it 3 times, and here I did it 2 times. And because we are used to this, we can calculate them mentally. But how are we going to calculate this, right? 1.09 to 34. So I'm not going to write 1.09 and times 1.09 times 1.09 34 times and multiply that by hand. And even if I try to do that, how am I going to try something like this, or the one that we just looked over, 1.00625 to 12 times 43? So in order to calculate this, I'm going to pull up the calculator and let's take a look at how to do that. So the first problem was 2 to the third. So I'm going to show you 2, and the actual symbol for power is this arrow that we are using from the calculator. So 2 to the third equals 8. 5 to the second equals 25. So now let's try the ones that we had in our worksheet. So 1.09 raised to 34. And it gives us this number. So I want you to be very careful. It does give us this long number. And in our finance chapter, you have to copy all these decimals. If your calculator doesn't give you that many decimals, change the calculator. So you do have to copy all of them. Some people round at intermediate steps. Instead of copying all the decimals, they write only some of them. And because of that, your answer will never be exact. So copy down all the decimals and use them throughout your computation, and only at the very end, the final answer needs to be rounded to whatever we need to do. So let's try the other one. 1.03456 raised to negative 24. So you have to use, if you have a calculator like mine, the TI-83 or 84, don't use this minus from here, use the negative sign and put negative 24. If you use the minus, you're going to get error. Press enter, and again, do you see how many decimals we have? We copy all of them and we carry them over until we get to the final answer, and then we round. And the one that we started with, 0.625, and I want to raise it to 12 times 43. So 12 times 43, I make sure they are both at the exponent, press enter, and we get all those. We get 24.90238722. You round at intermediate steps, you will never get the final answer. So what I'm trying to say is, if you go back to the problem that I started with here, so this number that we just got was actually the result of this yellow part, the part that I highlighted. So what I want you to do is to replace the whole thing. So for example, let me show you. If P was given that it's 200, let's say that was given. And at this point, maybe it's going to be unclear because you didn't learn the material. I'm trying to show you where you're going to use these powers in the future. So once you start doing the finance chapter, you will recognize what this means. So let's say, and I'm going to tell you the story. So for example, you are putting in an account $200 every month. So that's why N is 12 every month. So you do that monthly in an account that gives you 7.5% for 43 years. So the question is, how much money are you gonna end up having after these 43 years? So basically, when you go in the formula, you will have 200 times 1 plus 7.5%, that's 0.075. That's what 7.5% means. It's 7.5 divided by 100. And divide by 12 because they are 12 months, and we raise that to 12 times 43 and subtract 1 and divide by 0.075 over 12. So basically what I just calculated is this part. So then our computations are going to continue being 200 times, instead of the highlighted part, I'm going to put 24.90238722 minus 1, because I did just the highlighted part, over, and I can do this division to see what that is. And if you compute that, you will see that it's 0.00625, and as you can see, again, I'm not rounding anywhere. So and so 200 times, when we do the subtraction, is 23.90238722. Again, no rounding. So you see, I'm doing all the math and I'm keeping all that information. So if we do the numerator now, we multiply them, we get 4980.477444. Again, no rounding. If you do round at intermediate steps, you are going to get a different answer. And many times I get emails back from students saying, why am I off all the time 5 cents or something like that? So if we divide the numerator by the denominator, we get 795,603. So 795,603.4256. And just now I'm going to round it to 2 decimals because I deal with money. So it's 795,603.43. So in other words, if I tell you the story of this problem, it's going to be like this. If you put $200 every day in an account that gives you 7.5%, and you do that for 43 years, you are going to end up with $795,603.43. And you know, you're going to learn in chapter 8 also, well, that's a lot of money, right? And $200 every month to put in an account, it's relatively not that much. So basically, if you do 200 times every month, so 12 months times 43 years, well, how much money out of pocket are you actually putting in that account? Let me do that computation really quick. So 200 times 12 times 43. So over 43 years, you are actually putting in the account out of your pocket $103,200. So in other words, do you see? if you subtract these two values, you're actually finding the interest that you earned on putting that money. Well, I hope that this is a sign to you how interesting the finance chapter is. So basically, we saw how to calculate with the calculator, right? How this symbol, it's important when we do, and how important it is to carry all the decimals with you. And as you can see here, only at the very end, right, you see how I copied all the decimals, every time I copied them, right, and I didn't round until the very end. Now I did the rounding. I hope it helps.